Sure, yeah. Obviously with Wisconsin Green Bay, and excited to be here. I can tell you that I was at North Carolina State's national championship game, and Valvano was in it. I was in the stand. I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm in Sports Mirror magazine. See me sit in the band section, so whatever that's worth. At any rate, glad to be here. Fun times. It's an honor to be playing in the tournament.
Okay, let's start up front with Lindsay.
Lindsay Gibbs with Power Plays. Coach, you had a long run of making it to the NCAA tournament every year, and then it's been now a while. Does it mean more getting back to it this year after having missed the dance a few years?
Yeah, it's interesting. It became almost like it was going to happen every year. It was like 20 years in a row we just were in, and then we missed about the last 4. So, yeah, it was a little emotional getting in this one, and the players that we had were cut out the last couple of years, weren't able to get in, so it's kind of sweet to be back.
Okay, other questions up front here?
Cora Hall with the Knoxville News Sentinel. Kelly Harper has mentioned multiple times this week that she has been an admirer of your program and the kind of basketball you guys play, and she's pretty familiar with you guys. Did you have any idea that she was, an admirer of your program? And, what does it mean, yes, to hear the opposing head coach say that she's, watched you guys quite a bit over the last several years?
Well, I've been around for 40 years. At some point, maybe somebody's seen us play before, And our program has been consistent through the course of time. I think if you take a look at the success that our program's had over the course of the last 45 years, for the most part, although I've been there for about 20 of those, it's really pretty remarkable. And I don't take credit for that. It goes, a lot of things are important with that. But, I don't really follow what anybody else says, obviously. We're just I'm too busy doing this here, trying to find out how to win the next game, So, but tell her thanks.
Any other questions? Go back to Lindsay.
For those of us who haven't watched your team throughout the season, who would you kind of consider the X factor on your team? You can look at the stats and see the biggest stars, but who's the X factor?
For us?
Yes.
We really don't have a superstar. I think that's probably, it's good and bad. We don't have, the player to go to if we need to get something. It's the strength of the group, really is. There's strength in numbers. We're pretty balanced. I think we've got 4, maybe 5 players knocking on average in double figures, maybe at the highest, maybe 12 or 13 points a game. Kind of run a system where there was an opening, you kind of find it. If you're fast enough to get to that opening, you might get some points. If you aren't quick enough to get there, you may not get it. But we're pretty balanced for the most part. I don't think we're not a one-player dominant system. All of our players have got some skill, and as a result, we've got multitude kids that lead us in scoring and rebounding during the course of the year.
Let's go to Bob.
Bob Sutton with the Associated Press. Are you excited when you get kind of sent out of your region to another area of the country to kind of put your team on display, and everyone else is kind of a little bit of a know about each other, and you're kind of, I guess, the outsider?
Yeah, it's you play in your conference, and I think everybody can probably say the same thing. Everybody's in a conference, and you play your conference tournament, you play a team for the 3rd time. It's like, can we finally be done with this and play somebody else, And so, it's exciting to play somebody besides ourselves, irregardless of who it is. Just so happens to be Tennessee, which is a pretty big mountain to climb, but obviously we're seeing an opponent that we haven't seen all year long. So I think I could probably speak for a lot of coaches that want to get outside their conference, because your conference is hard, your conference tournaments are even harder, and when you get out of that, it's almost like a breath of fresh air. You play somebody you haven't seen before.
Let's go back to Cora.
Your team had some pretty big wins in non-conference play. What did you see from them that makes you, think they're going to be, ready to face, a team where they're technically the underdog again?
Yeah, we're competitive. Our players are competitive. I don't know how. Again, I said at the beginning of the year when the year started, these players have been with us for the last couple of years, and I didn't know if we'd win one game, but I could guarantee that we would be competitive in the games that we played in. And we've won a few games, obviously, and put ourselves in this position right now. So our kids are competitive. We kind of take care of ourselves. We do what we do to the best of our ability. We're not really worried about any of the outside forces. I don't think our players would be intimidated by the stage. We're excited about the place being sold out. That's really cool. Good to see North Carolina State's got just great following here, and it's going to be a full arena. Yeah, and I feel confident that our players will play to the best of their ability. They battle. They've been battle tested. Maybe not at this level right here. Tennessee's pretty good, but we have played some good teams over the course of the last couple of years. They've got opportunity to play against that. And it's fun. It's a challenge, but it's fun to be able to do that.
Let's go back to Bob, and then we'll go in front.
Why were you at that championship game that NC State won? What was your reason for being there?
Actually, I went to 6 in a row. I did. I started St. Louis at the Golden Arches was the first one, and the last one was at the New Orleans when Michael Jordan won it. And I think Valvano won it in 83. Yeah, and we actually drove up through Denver, watched a Nuggets game and a Laker game, and back down into Albuquerque. And I even remember my doggone cab driver's name. We were at Albuquerque, but yeah, it was kind of fun to go down there, sit in court. So we actually sat in one of the band sections at one of the band teams that got beat. So we were sitting right there section. We were down nice and low. So I think the last shot was shot, missed the rim. I don't know if it was Lowe tipped it in or who put the ball in the basket, but it was. And then Valvano was running, and I saw it running around the court. I said, "Look at him! He's just running around, not finding anybody." But it was really pretty cool. But that was quite a long time ago.
JB?
How you doing, Coach? JB Ricks with Spectrum News 1. I want to go back to Tennessee, and I wanted to know from your perspective, what is that balance like when you have to balance the challenge of going up against a team with so much tradition like Tennessee, but at the same time, dealing with that excitement of that challenge and preparing for them. Well, how is it for you, like balancing both, dynamics on that front?
First of all, I want to tell you a little bit of nostalgia you probably don't know. The two winningest programs in NCAA women's basketball college history are Green Bay and Tennessee for the winningest seasons. I think each one of us got 45 winning seasons. Tennessee's 1 and Green Bay's number 2. Look that up. That's kind of interesting. Carol Hammerly started that for Green Bay many years ago. We've been able to carry it through to this point right now. But at any rate, your question was how do we balance the excitement and still being able to play? I just think you have to be who you are. I mean, dance with who brought you. I'm not trying to be cute with my words here at all, but I just think we do what we do. That's kind of what our MO's been the entire while, is just do you, whatever that is, and do it to your best of your ability. I don't think we're going to reinvent the wheel in a week's period of time and trying to do something to either combat or beat Tennessee. We just have to do what we do to the best of our ability, stay within ourselves, and if we do that, you're in familiar ground. At least if you take a left or a right, it doesn't work, you can take another, you'll be able to go because you'll know, because you've been there before in that regard. So balancing the emotions, that's a different story, obviously, but again, we played in front of big crowds before, and I think our crew is pretty determined. That doesn't guarantee anything, but by the same token, I do believe that they'll play well.
Sakura?
Your team is going to be going up against one of the best players in the country, in Rakia Jackson. Just how do you go about preparing for a player like her?
She had 19 against us when she was at Mississippi State many years ago. We played in a tournament in Vancouver. We didn't do very well back then. She just went right around us. She's really impressive. She really is. If she's not one of the top players in the WBB draft, I would be surprised in everything I read she is. She's just a really good player. I don't know how to answer that question. Obviously someone you have to key on, but they've got other players that have got abilities right along with it. They've got a very nice club. I mean, they almost beat South Carolina. I mean, it came down to somebody banking a 3 at the end of the game. So, and you look at their losses, 3 to South Carolina, 2 to LSU. So they're in a pretty good league, So tough opponent. We just, again, I go back to what he said earlier. We just have to do what we do to the best of our ability, stay within what we do, and see where it takes us for the most part. But I don't think we're not going to reinvent the wheel and try to. I can't focus on Tennessee. I got to focus on Green Bay.
Stephanie?
You've been part of so many NCAA tournaments and part of the sport for so long. How have you seen it grow? I mean, I guess this is your first time actually having the March Madness insignia behind you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I worked for the NCAA. I deserve a pension when it's all over with. that's a day for a different story, but 40-some years. But, I started in the junior college back in 82 and 83, and players had long fingernails and two-hand shots. It was dire straits back then. And there was, for a long time, and probably in the last 5 years is where it's really changed, you were recruiting players and you were recruiting juniors in high school. Because, and then all of a sudden you're watching sophomores in high school. And now you go down to 7th grade level and you watch some of these tournaments in the summer and you look at these players and think, my, where did they come from? 7th grade kids are really talented. The game of girls basketball leading into women's basketball has grown so much over the last 40 years, and I've got an opportunity to witness that. I've got an opportunity to be a part of that. It's been just astronomical. And, of course, it's really capped off this year, obviously, with the Caitlin Clark era. How fitting that she's kind of stepped to the forefront and elevated our game to a new level has really helped a lot. But, look at North Carolina State. The place sold out in 30 minutes. How awesome is that? What does that tell you about the game of women's basketball nowadays? And I think that's probably the same to be true for a lot of places. A lot of gals that can play basketball now. What used to be girls basketball is now women's basketball. And these young ladies can play. Trust me. And I think anybody that watches them appreciates the game a lot because there's a lot of teamwork involved in women's basketball. So from fans' perspective, what I hear is we like watching the gals play because there's a lot of teamwork involved. It kind of brings you back to I'm a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson fan. There's a lot of teamwork back in those days, not quite as much individual play. So, it's grown a lot. It's been fun to be to see it and fun to be a part of it.
I think our conference tournament run was really special to us because obviously we're very familiar with the teams that we're playing, so it's easy to have, the momentum going through and to get excited and know who you're playing. I think this is a new experience for us, and it's something that, we don't want to take for granted, and it's an opportunity to play a bigger school and at a bigger place. So I think that gives us a lot of momentum and a lot of motivation moving forward.
Bailey, is there anything you could add?
Yeah, definitely for our tournament. That got us really going, and I feel like it helped us play a little bit better together, and I feel like that'll help us in the tournament.
Okay, let's go on the aisle, and then we'll get Lindsay.
Hey, guys. Chris Ragone from Pack Pride and 24/7 Sports. Obviously, getting to play in the NCAA tournament is an exciting time, but playing a storied program like Tennessee probably upset a little bit. What does it mean to you be playing a team like them in the first round?
Bailey, could you start this time?
I think it's exciting, playing a big team like that. We're the underdogs, and it just kind of gets us a little fueled up to play a big game like that.
Natalie?
Yeah, I think any team we were going to play, we were going to be excited no matter what. It's a very unique experience that you play college basketball so you can play in the NCAA tournament. That's the dream. And I think, obviously, Tennessee is a very historic program, but we're the underdog, like Bailey said. We've got nothing to lose going in, so we might as well just play as hard as we can.
Okay, Lindsay up front.
As you mentioned, this is a dream for everyone. This is your first tournament. Do you have any memories of watching the women's NCAA tournament growing up?
Natalie?
Yeah, I feel like it's been really cool to watch it grow over the years. And then, I feel like growing up, I had no really concept of how big of a deal it was to be in the tournament and what it meant to play in the tournament. And then as we've come to college and experienced, the heartbreak over the last couple of years of not being able to be in the tournament, and now, it puts it in perspective. And also just there's so many great players, so many great names in women's basketball. And that was so cool to grow up and watch, and now we're here.
Okay, Bailey?
I think a few memories that I have is watching Green Bay get to the tournament. A few years back, I watched Jen Mullins play, and that was really exciting. And it kind of just gets us going to hey, I want to get there, and we did, so it's exciting.
Okay, Bob up front.
Bob Sutton with the Associated Press. This is for both of you. It seems like these other three teams that are here, everyone kind of knows someone or knows something about each other. What are we going to learn about your team and your program for the next couple days?
Bailey?
One thing I think you guys are going to learn, our defense. We really strive to get better on defense each day, and we hustle. We hustle a lot. We're aggressive, and I feel like that's what gets us playing really well together. And we always are aggressive on defense, on offense, and it's really nice.
Natalie?
Yeah, I think, like Bailey said, something that makes us stand up. You're not going to look at us and think we're a very big or tall team. You're going to see that right away. But what you will notice about us is that we hustle and we play together and we play hard for each other. And a lot of that, like Bailey said, comes on the defensive end and then playing together on offense. And, yeah.
Okay, let's go back to Ethan.
And y'all played a challenging non-conference schedule. This isn't your first time playing like high major teams. What are you going to take away from the wins over Creighton and Washington State? To what did you learn from those games that you're going to take into the tournament?
Natalie, you're first this time.
Yeah, I think at the time when we played our non-conference schedule, that's what our coach said a lot, just to take it in, use those games as motivations because we're going to need them later. We're going to need them later after, when we win the conference tournament and when we go play in the NCAA tournament, we're going to see big teams like that. So I think now after we've played our conference schedule with all the familiar teams that we've always played that we know a lot about, we can look back and we have some confidence going into these games knowing we can compete outside of the Horizon League, and we did, and we were successful in it. In our non-conference season, so it gives us the confidence and all the motivation that we have all the ability.
Bailey?
Yeah, I agree with Nat for the confidence part. I feel like it gives us composure. We've been in these big games before. We know what it feels like, and that helps us out in this situation.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, go back to Bob.
Just to follow up real quick, just to make sure, do you know any or have a relationship or a background with any of the other players that are in this region?
Bailey?
From any of the other three teams?
No, I don't think so.
Natalie?
Yeah, honestly, no, not. I haven't played with anyone, but obviously I have a lot of respect for the big names, and they're really great players. So other than that, but not like we're not personal friends or anything. I wouldn't say that. No.